Welcome to Scoop World Order. A lot going on today. Thursday, a 5-star quarterback that loved Ohio State just hit the portal. Ooh, boy. A UCLA kid. He is a phenom. We're going to get into him a little bit. A couple more Buckeyes are bidding Ohio State adieu. Kian Martinez, Victor Cutler hit the portal today. There are going to be a bunch more coming by Monday, so buckle up. The roster transition season is in full effect. It is crazy right now. My phone has literally been on fire. I've been getting calls all day about comings and goings and agents and everything else. So we're going to get into all of that. As always, thank you for kicking it with us. Again, this is the best part of our day. We love kicking it with you guys. We appreciate all your support. If you guys have a question that you're dying to have answered, you can super chat us. If you super chat us, we automatically stop the show and answer your question. It's a great system. It's been fantastic. We appreciate all of your support to the channel. Again, we love doing this for you guys, with you guys. We appreciate all the comments. We read it all. We try to make this as good of a show as humanly possible so you guys really enjoy it. We want to make you guys better football fans, smarter Ohio State fans. We try to bring the best inside information to you guys. So it's a blast. We work all day to get the info just to give it to you guys at night. But if you enjoy this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe, also click that little alert bell. And shout out where you guys are watching from. I love seeing my guys down in Southern Ohio. So all my boys down on the river, appreciate you guys tuning in every night. Northeast Ohio, Naples, Florida. I see where you guys are watching from: Texas, Georgia, California. I love it. Gonna bring in my main man. What a day. Oh, what a day. I mean, my phone has been exploding with information. Dante Moore, a 5-star kid from UCLA, who's in Chip Kelly's offense, which is not completely the same as Ryan Day's, but Justin Fry was there. Obviously, Ryan Day, that is his protege, that is his OG, Chip Kelly. So be really interesting. Dante Moore is a guy that we wanted. I feel like we kind of got caught in a bind with Dylan Raiola because we kind of promised that we wouldn't take a 5-star guy in that class before Dylan got here, which ended up, turning into Lincoln Keenholz. And then Dylan ends up stiffing us and going to Georgia, so it shows what we know by doing that. Nevada, again, I think that this is intriguing. I think that we're going to have to open up the bank a little bit because I think that Michigan State's going to go after this kid hard. And a lot of you guys roll your eyes at Michigan State, but you got to remember their biggest owner just bought the Phoenix Suns for $6 billion. And he's like 44 years old and he's a mortgage monster, does really well. So they can buy a lot of stuff up there. They just got a new coach. But what are your thoughts on Dante Moore, 5-star? He's a Michigan kid and potentially Ohio State.
Well, look, I think Ryan's got to handle this really carefully. And if you're going to go after a transfer portal quarterback, it's got to be somebody who's clearly better than everybody in your room. And, there's just a few players in the country, in my opinion, that are reasonably, possibly gettable that fit into that category. And to me, Moore's definitely in the discussion. I've watched him probably more than I've watched any other quarterback this year just because of our ties to UCLA. Watch a lot of UCLA football. So I got to see him a lot this year. And there's just something about him that I like. I like his game. I like his, he's not like this crazy running quarterback, but he moves around the pie. He's definitely not a statue back there. Moves around, mobile, can make some great throws. It just seems to have it. He just seems to have that little thing. You can just tell he's raw. You can tell he needs to be developed. But boy, the talent seems to be there. And will Ryan, have the courage of conviction or whatever to run his guys and go after a quarterback like this? I just don't know. I mean, people have been going back and forth on this on the message board, and the point was, hey, Ryan's done this before. He did this with he cleaned out the QB room, and my retort to that was those weren't his players. You know what I'm saying? Those were Urban Meyer's guys. He didn't mind running Urban Meyer's guys. But will Ryan Day clean out his room to go after something like Moore? Man, I don't know. I'm skeptical hippo on this one. Although I would say it's super intriguing just because of Moore's upside, which I think is abundant.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like defusing a bomb. It really is. I think if you go after this kid, because here's the thing. A lot of you guys don't. We operate at kind of a different level on Buckeyes between Nevada and I. We've got great contacts in the highest areas of college football. A lot of really good contacts in the agent community, and a lot of these kids have agents. And these guys are figuring out, hey, this guy got offered $2 million. The kid from Wazoo got offered $2 million by us. So, and again, is that a real number? Is that a fake number? Is that whatever? Is that a negotiation ploy? Whatever. But he turned it down because he didn't, he wanted to be an offense where he could run more. So that's why he turned us down. But the money's out there. And I think that when you have a quarterback, a quarterback is the ultimate overpowered weapon in football. Again, you look at the teams that are dominant, they all have great quarterbacks. Excuse me. And this is a kid where, if you go on this kid and you offer him big time money, there's a chance you lose Kyle McCord. There's a chance you lose Devin Brown. There's a chance you lose both of them. Lincoln Keenholz is like, what the heck, guys? Like, I committed here and you guys are going after Dante Moore. Like, it's not cut and dry. This isn't like you're playing Madden and you sign Patrick Mahomes when you already have Joe Burrow on the team and you have an infinite salary cap or something. This is like you're dealing with real people and real lives, and quarterback dads are insane. Like, that's the thing, is like these guys all see the new Pat Mahomes contract, the new Jalen Hurts contract. They know that they've got like a 3 to 4 year window to get to the right spot in college where, if you can become viable and get built, you could turn into Josh Allen. You could, you don't have to go to Ohio State, but Josh Allen went to Wyoming. It was like 4-8 his senior year, and he's making $50 million on the cover of Madden. So the quarterback dad thing it's crazy, it's wild, but it's because it's worth it. I mean, I'm telling you, like when we have a great quarterback, I mean, you see how the machine runs when we have C.J. Stroud versus Kyle McCord. And again, I'm not bagging on Kyle McCord, but C.J. Stroud might win the MVP of the NFL this year. He was an elite guy, top 2 prospect, the top 2 overall pick. And Kyle's not that. Like, if Kyle came out this year, where would he go? 6th round, maybe 7th round. Like, so he's the same age CJ was last year, but he didn't have near the production and near the ability, near the arm talent. And then you have Justin Fields, obviously, Dwayne Haskins. Even if you just go college quarterback, JT Barrett was a tremendous college quarterback. He's a lot like Tim Tebow. But we need better quarterback play, and again, I'm not trying to go off the rails because we lost by 6 to Michigan, which again, it's never acceptable to lose to Michigan, but we lost by 6 on the road versus a team that was favored to beat us. So it's not like we got ran by 50 points or anything, but if our quarterback plays better, we win. He missed a lot of throws and he was a little skittish, but so do you go upset the apple cart and go get a guy that you think is a franchise guy? And frankly, the problem with this kid is he didn't play a lot this year. It's not like he was a freshman and he started every game. He was a spot guy and rotated in a little bit. And by the end of the year, he was playing, some, but not a ton. We'll turn on a couple of his highlights. Nevada, for some of the people that don't know you're based in California. So when you say you've watched every UCLA game, you've watched literally every UCLA game because it's in your time zone. It's on, you're local kind of. What do you think about this kid? Like, how good is he? Who do you compare him to? Because you watch as much football as any human on the planet. Who does he remind you of? And Nevada has muted himself, so I'm going to bring him back in here. So we'll watch some of his film. See, I just like him because he's got that, he's that classic athletic, light foot, can scramble. All right, you're back. I asked you, who does he remind you of?
Well, I was saying, I've been a UCLA season ticket holder since '78, so we've been watching UCLA football for a long time. Look, I think, to me, I look at him. I mean, my first thought when I first saw him first game was a very raw Justin Fields. That's what I thought. Yeah. Now, again, I know that's kind of been my thing because Justin Fields is near and dear to our hearts, but he moves like Justin. He has some of the same type of characteristics as Justin. Is he a finished product? Isn't, of course not. Am I saying he's going to start in the NFL? Unknowable, but that's who he reminded me of all year when I'd watch him. And again, he struggled. He was up and down, and was kind of between. They thought he was going to be the next great thing till he was on the bench, till he was moved around and do stuff. But man, when you watch some of the stuff that he does, you can see the talent's there. Yeah. And nobody in the portal is going to be without some sort of issues. If you get a guy that's a 4th or 5th year guy, the issue for you is you're going to have him for 1 year. And that's the thing. It's going to be a 1 year rental. And that's the most you're going to get. When you get, 49-year-old Sam Hartman, you get 1 season out of the guy. A kid like this, you'd get multiple years out of. And is that something, that's always something you've got to consider when you look at these types of transfer situations is Is it a single year situation or is it a multiple year situation? And I just think he's got upside, man. And like I said, I think when you watch him, you can see it.
Well, I mean, like to me, I like it because he's a true freshman. So it's kind of like Davidson Igbinosun. Davidson Igbinosun is going to end up being one of the greatest transfer portal guys of all time for us because we get him for 2 years. Like he's not going to go pro after this year because he can't. He's a true sophomore this year. He's tremendous. He'll be our number one corner next year. He'll likely go pro after next year. But I love getting a true freshman who, played. We were interested in him. Again, like the Dylan Raiola thing was fascinating because, they kind of sat down. Dylan committed. The plan was, hey, don't take a showstopper this year. So Ryan Day and Corey Dennis and the guys recruiting really they laid off the 5 stars. They laid off the superstar quarterbacks and they went after Brock Glenn, who ended up at Florida State. Then they go after Lincoln Keenholz, who's kind of a 3-ish, 4-ish star guy who, after he committed to Ohio State, obviously gets the Buckeye bump. He goes from a 3 to 4-star or whatever. And again, I think Lincoln could be fantastic. Again, there's a guy in the Woody Hayes that calls him fast twitch Joe Burrow. So, I mean, that's pretty gaudy in terms of comparisons. But, I think that you have to improve that room. And the thing about Ryan Day is Ryan Day, I know for a fact, went after Drake May last year. Drake May is going to end up being the second pick in the draft in all likelihood. Someone will trade up and take him. Again, he's the franchise guy. Him and Caleb Williams are the top 2 guys in the draft this year. And Ryan wanted him bad, but Drake May went to, he's a Carolina kid. His parents went to Carolina. They bleed light blue or baby blue or whatever you're gonna call it. But he went after Drake May, and I mean they were told to stand down by Mac Brown because Mac Brown got word of it. But that's modern football. And again, if you've got Marvin Harrison and Emeka and Trey Henderson, then I would call Drake May and say, hey, do you want to throw to the top 2 receivers in the country and the best running back in the country, or do you want to stay at Carolina? And a lot of kids are going to say, I'd love to throw to Marvin Harrison. I mean, I think quarterbacks are a function of infrastructure and offense, and Ryan Day's offense is a supersonic highway to being the top pick in the draft or top 2 pick in the draft. So I think Ryan, I give Ryan a lot of credit. Like Ryan, he wants ultra elite quarterback play every single year, and he'll do whatever it takes to get there. And if he has to hurt feelings, that's fine. Again, because at the end of the day, he's a quarterback guy, and he knows the importance of the quarterback. And frankly, his skill and trait, as much as people want to bag on him for losing to Michigan, the way he develops quarterbacks is unbelievable. And when he has the right piece of clay, like C.J. Stroud or Justin Fields, those guys turn into really high-end players in college, and they turn into really good NFL pros. Nevada, we had a couple more Buckeyes hit the portal this week, or excuse me, today. Cam Martinez, the DB, took off, and Victor Cutler, who was a guy that I kind of feel like we panicked on to take last year because we were just nervous about depth. He was a kid that played tackle at Louisiana, Lafayette or Monroe. It was one of the little Louisiana schools, and we made him our backup center. Kind of a waste of a year or whatever. He took off. Any thoughts there? I mean, this is a weird week because I feel like a lot of Ryan Day and a lot of the position coaches, their job is to try to keep kids. There's a lot of kids that are, hey, I'm second team, third team, whatever. Like, what am I in the plans? Do I need to start looking? And then you throw in the fact that some of these backups at Ohio State are getting offered $200,000 or $300,000 to transfer by schools that are desperate. So, I mean, if you're a backup that didn't play last year and you're getting offered a couple hundred G's to go somewhere else and it's real money and you can validate it, then I don't know. I mean, you got to at least think about it. But what are your thoughts on that?
Well, look, on the O-line stuff, I mean, there's no way to sugarcoat this. The Cutler thing is a big black eye, in my opinion, for Justin Fry, because this is an example of a transfer portal move that you just can't make. I think the transfer portal comes with peril to it. It's not just all benefit, because every time you bring a guy in like this, you're sending messages to other guys that everything that we've kind of said to you, everything that we've kind of sold to you is not true. And you can do that if you're bringing in guys that are just clearly better, clear upgrades, clear guys that are going to help out, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. In this case, this is a guy who couldn't play. He couldn't crack our 2 deep, couldn't play. And the idea that Ohio State should be so desperate as to do something like that is just kind of preposterous. So I think that was a bad move. And I think where it's going to manifest itself this year, wait till you see some of the backup offensive linemen who Ohio State probably has penciled in or is telling them they have penciled in to be starters or guys that are going to see significant playing time next year or whatever part of the plan, they're not going to believe it. And they're going to go, you know something, I don't believe you. And as a result of me not believing you, I'm going to move on to somewhere else. And so, the transfer portal, the portal's great when it works out, but man, you can't miss on the portal. The guys that you bring in had better be ready to contribute in a meaningful way to Ohio State, or you're really, really messing with the culture. And I think that's just super no bueno.
No, I totally agree. I mean, I think when you bring a guy in and then you make him like Victor was like the second team center this year, but you could have had like Josh Padilla there. You could have had, I mean, not Jacob James, whatever, but like, I mean, Luke Whippler at the combine thought Jacob James was going to be our starting center. He didn't play at all this year. So, it's, Tywin Malone shows up and, when these guys like come from like an Ole Miss or whatever, they get a little chunk of change now. They get $100,000 or $150,000 and it's not a lot of money, but it's enough money where, on a football team, if one guy gets $150 and then a guy who committed out of high school gets $0.50, then there could be some consternation, some anger there, some jealousy, whatever. And these are 18-year-old kids now, so and then some of these guys they don't pay, like Tywin Malone like couldn't play at all, and I thought he would be a kid that would give us at least some valuable snaps. And when it came down to nut cutting time against like Michigan, like he was nowhere to be found. He was on the sideline waving the towel. So again, that was we've had a couple whiffs in the portal, and hopefully he can get a lot better because we're going to probably lose Ty Lake, probably going to lose Mike Hall, and we need to find D tackles worse than maybe any position on the team. Larry Daniels, a Scoop Ultra member, appreciate you, my man. Thank you for the 5. Until Day allows his QB to run, is this still a wash? Well, that is a great question, Nevada. I'll let you take that first because we talked a little bit about the lack of a running, and I made when I was talking to you earlier today. It's kind of like it'd be like if Ryan Day ran an NBA team and didn't let him shoot 3-pointers or something. Like that's what it, because the 3-pointer is so overpowered in the modern NBA that's what teams like their analytics gurus skew everything to shooting threes all the time. But with Ryan, it's kind of like that's what the QB run is to me. It's like that's like the meta in modern football when you watch Jalen Hurts and Josh Allen and Mahomes and CJ Stroud runs for 50 yards against the Texans or for the Texans with a rushing touchdown on Sunday. And then, with us, like our guys, it's not that they can't run. They're just not, I don't think they're really allowed to run. But what are your thoughts on that, Nevada? If we get Dante Moore, do you think he'd not be allowed to run?
I think that is a great question, because,
it's a great question.
We saw Fields be limited from running, and I really think the moment was when Fields got hurt. I believe it was against Penn State. I think that was like the moment that Ryan just kind of decided he's not going to run the quarterback anymore. And CJ Stroud goes to, we have gone 3 years in a row without a single rushing quarterback touchdown from our QB1, not one.
Yeah.
We are 0. And when you're talking about a football game, we all know football games are decided by 3 plays, 4 plays, 6 plays, whatever it is. I mean, our entire season came down to making 1 yard, making an additional first down, converting in the red zone, just little tiny little things. And we're getting 0 rushing TDs out of our quarterback. Do I think that's a something? Yeah, I think it's more than a something. I think it's close to an everything. And I think, that's also one of my big questions that I have about, why Ryan would go because every quarterback that we're looking at in the portal runs. They all run.
Yeah.
And, I for whatever reason, well, I know what the reason is. It's not for whatever reason. Ryan is afraid of getting QB1 injured. And my only retort to that is if the Kansas City Chiefs can allow Patrick Mahomes to run frequently out there on the field, and nobody on this earth can even name who the backup quarterback is anymore for the Kansas City Chiefs, that's like an unknown thing, then how can we be afraid to run QB1? I don't understand it. I will never understand it. I think it's a gigantic blind spot for it. I really do hope by us talking about this and raising this that it raises enough of an awareness that it gets into Ryan's mind. And that may sound crazy, but guys, they listen to everything that we talk about. They read everything that we write. And so I know that they're aware of this stuff, but I'm just going to keep talking about it until it changes, because it's insane how difficult we make offense by not using the quarterback in some limited capacity to stress the defense. And I'll always feel that way.
Oh, for till the end of time. I mean, I watch these teams in the league, and I mean, like it's all of them. It's Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Mahomes. Like those guys run and they're dominant. I mean, they're forces of nature because they're too hard to predict. Because I mean, you could have the best coverage in the world, and then the guy takes off and scrambles and goes and converts a first down, and it's literally demoralizing to a defense when that happens. KC, thanks for the 10, my friend. Appreciate you. Another Scoop Ultra member. Using the transfer portal runs the risk of alienating players. Yes, it does. So if a coach decides to utilize it, you may lose commitments. What Bucks will enter the portal this year? Any news on coaching movement? Nevada, do you want to take that first, or you want me to take a crack at it?
I mean, you feel free to take a crack. I've got thoughts on a lot of things, but go ahead, take a crack at it.
Okay. Yeah, I think that the portal is just kind of like one of those things where you have to shift your mind from old traditional rah-rah like shish kumbah football that was everything until 3 years ago to this is like the NFL now. Like when you're in the NFL, like I was in the NFL, guys, I mean, there's free agents coming in all the time on Tuesdays to get a workout in. They sign guys, they cut guys. It's like there's a fluid roster situation, except it's a two-way street because the kids can leave now. Like in the NFL, like you can't just leave a team. If you're like, unless you're like Terrell Owens or some guy like that, but like you can't just like leave an NFL team to go to another NFL team because you want a better opportunity. But in college, you can do that now. So it's the ultimate like Excalibur sword right now with the roster management piece because like these coaches all week are meeting with players about who's gonna coach, what's my role, what's my future. There's dads in the Woody Hayes right now meeting with Ryan Day. Talking, hey, what's my son's future? Like especially like the quarterback, especially like, I know Kyle McCord's dad and Devin Brown's dad, they're both meeting with Ryan Day this week, and they both are, hey, one's like, is my son your guy? And the other one's like, is it going to be an open competition? And then they got a decision to make off that. So it's tough. I mean, when you're Ryan, like, I honestly don't know how you can't, I don't know how you can be honest and be a college football coach in modern times. I think you have to be a liar. You have to lie to these kids and speak out both sides of your mouth because it's too hard. Because like, if you tell Kyle McCord's dad, hey, it's going to be an open competition, then he's like, well, his antenna goes up and he's like, well, maybe we should hit the portal. And then if you tell Devin Brown's dad, well, it's not going to be a competition because Kyle was good enough and he's QB1, then his antenna goes up and he's like, we should hit the portal. Then a lot of these guys have the same agents. So a lot of these guys are like, well, the quarterback from Wazoo got offered $2 million by the school. Like, is Ohio State going to spend money to retain my son? Or are we going to, whatever. So it's a really weird thing is this weird because it didn't exist 3 years ago. The fact you said you may lose commitments due to the portal, I think this is part of it. Like, I mean, it just depends on how big of a delta and a variance is the talent. If you could get like a Drake May or a superstar quarterback to come in and then you lose a high school kid, like I'd be fine with that. If we could get Orlando Pace to come in the transfer portal and play left tackle for us next year, I don't care if we lose a high school kid. I really don't, because I'm about winning next year, and that's all I care about. I mean, you got to build a program and all that, but if you can get a superstar, if you get some monster defensive end D tackle, and it makes some 18-year-old sad, like a sad panda, I'm good with that. I don't care. I want a proven commodity. I want a guy that's proven he can play college football, and that's the beauty of the portal. It's like those kids that are at lesser schools, like Davison Igbinosin is, that kid played with so much energy this year. I loved watching him. He's a little handsy, but he's got a lot of upside. He's fluid. He had a lot of juice against Michigan. And he hasn't even been in the rivalry, and he was like the most juiced up guy out there. So, that kid's a home run. That kid's an Alabama type corner, but he ended up at Ole Miss out of high school, and he's ours now. So God bless that kid. More Bucks enter the portal? Yeah, I bet 8 to 10 more Bucks enter the portal. I've got a lot of names. I don't want to go with them right now, but there's a lot of guys that are going to be jumping in the portal. Like Victor Cutler was a guy that I was told today wasn't going to leave until Monday, and he announced tonight. Cam Martinez. If you want to go like through the depth chart and kind of figure out who's going to be potentially leaving, look at the kids that are second and third string. kids that maybe started or played last year or the year before, and they've just kind of been pushed down the depth chart. Those are the kids that are going to move on because they want to go play somewhere. They want to go to the league. These kids, their dreams are all to go to the NFL, and you can't be an NFL player as a backup. You got to go play somewhere, and you don't have to play at Ohio State. You can go play at Tulsa and go to the NFL. You can go to Akron and go to the NFL. You can go to like Josh Allen, who's on the cover of Madden, is the MVP of the NFL. Literally went to Wyoming. Joe Flacco went from Pittsburgh to Delaware. And made $200 million as backup quarterback for the Browns now, multiple Super Bowl winner. So I think that you just you got to do what's best for you. Again, like it's like I tell people that ask me because there's people that want to know what my opinion is on their situations. I'm like, look, Justin Fry, who I think is a really good line coach, if he got offered the head coaching job at Indiana, he wouldn't think twice about it. He'd be gone. His office would be cleaned out. He'd be in Bloomington, but he didn't get offered it, so he's still at Ohio State. And again, that's just a natural progression of coaching. Like it's not, there's nothing wrong with that, but guys are as faithful as their options. And those coaches, those contracts are made out of tissue paper. So they'll rip it up real quick. And, if they get a better circumstance, like Keenan Bailey, our tight ends coach, interviewed to be the offensive coordinator at East Carolina. Like if he gets offered that and he gets to be a play caller, in major college football, like he's gone. He's not going to stick around because he wants to get a pair of gold pants or for the, because he loves Woody Hayes. He's going to go whatever is the best opportunity to progress his coaching career. And that's what coaching is. It's not, oh, this is my dream and I've dreamed of being the tight ends coach at Ohio State. I mean, Keenan Bailey wants to be a head coach one day. So you can't be a tight ends coach at Ohio State very long and hope to be a head coach one day. News on coaching movement. Well, obviously Justin Fry he didn't get Indiana. They gave it to the James Madison guy. Keenan Bailey obviously interviewed with East Carolina today. I think that there's a couple guys, Corey Dennis and Parker Fleming, that are kind of on shaky water or shaky ground right now. So we'll see. I think the date to watch is next week. If we don't make the playoffs, I think there could be some coaching changes. If we do make the playoffs, it'll stay status quo. Because they'll want to, if we can sneak into that 4 spot, they want to keep the band together, at least through the playoffs and see how we do. But what are your thoughts on that, Nevada? That was kind of a long answer, but I'd like to hear your thoughts.
Yeah.
Do you remember? Well, first off, do you remember the question? Do you want me to repeat the question for you to freshen it?
No, I'll go to the end part about the coaching. The coaching stuff with Bailey and with Fleming and with Dennis, those guys are basically being told if something better comes along, go ahead and you might want to pursue those types of opportunities. So I would expect stuff like that to happen. Nobody's going to get forced out or fired, but they're going to see if they can kind of move them on to better opportunities. I don't think there'll be any changes on the defensive side, that I can see. Not in terms of people being forced out. Now, if something better comes along, or there's a really legitimately better offer for somebody, then I can see movement there. But I think those 3 names are the names that you're probably going to keep an eye on throughout this offseason. And I think your timing's right. Obviously, they're not going to make any moves on the coaching stuff with a playoff limit. And I think we still have a better than a puncher's chance at a playoff spot. And you're starting to see people kind of wake up to that today, where they're kind of, you're starting to see more and more people go, well, Ohio State could really edge out Texas in this thing. I'm like, dude, that's exactly what I've been saying since day one on this. So, we'll see. There's still a lot of football to be played. Saturday's going to be a fun day to see where we go. And what would be better than Ohio State getting in the playoffs again and then getting a rematch against Michigan? That would be just the ultimate beautiful type of scenario. And hey, crazier things have happened. So it could happen this year. So you never know.
That'd be delicious. That'd be amazing. Jeremy G, thanks for the 5, brother. Moore played at much more than Fields as a freshman. Yeah, Justin didn't play at all. He played a little bit of mop-up time at Georgia. He famously was walking off the field and was the camera caught him saying I didn't do crap today because he just handed the ball off and was frustrated. If he came to OSU, he will push everyone to be better. I think the best case is Devin Brown levels up. Well, so the Buckeyes had kind of a light workout on Monday, and Devin Brown was shredding people. So this is kind of a weird week because if we were in the Big Ten Championship, they would have had the traditional practice schedule: practice Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, walk through Friday, travel to Indy. But when they're kind of in limbo about, are we in the playoff? Do we have a bowl game? We don't have an opponent to game plan for. They just do some light workouts and they do some throw stuff, some 7-on-7 stuff. And Devin was killing it on Monday, man. I got good source told me he lit practice up because I think he's I think he's kind of been a little up and down about everything that's gone on, and he's a guy that he wants to play. Again, he's a talented guy, and he didn't get much of a shake this year. I mean, Kyle, and again, Kyle was fine. Kyle was third team All Big Ten. He broke I don't know if it was like a 12, like since 2012, like the Big Ten quarterback of the year has been the Ohio State quarterback every year until Kyle McCord's year, which is it's the streak you'll never see again for this year, like 12 straight years or whatever it is of Ohio State's quarterback being the first team All Big Ten quarterback. It was broken yesterday. Treasure the Torah, my man. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you for the 20. What's up, Kirk? I just got the notification. That's why I tell you guys to turn the notifications on, that little bell, so it dings on your phone or your iPad or whatever, and you can throw it on the big screen if you guys want. So I appreciate you having the notifications on. They went live. Hope it's true about Dante Moore situation. We really need a great quarterback. Is he a dual threat quarterback? Yeah, he's a big time dual threat quarterback. I mean, he's got lightning in his shoes. He is a burner. So again, Nevada and I, we are team hard to defend offense. And when you throw in a guy that can scoot and motor, it is just a nightmare to go against. Again, like I went against a very Diet Coke version of that in Juice Williams in 07, and we couldn't get him off the field. Like he kept running, quarterback sneaked, like converted, and it's absolute backbreaker to a defense when a quarterback can run and convert. And again, like JJ McCarthy made amazing plays with his legs. And it's not always just like scrambling and rushing yards. It's just getting out of the pocket and improvising. And, you saw him whip that throw down the sideline that was a conversion throw. That's really hard to cover as a cornerback when they're really good at a scramble draw. And then he threw the one like to the middle of the field that was like an insane throw, and that was a conversion. So, it's not just run out of the pocket and scramble like you're playing Madden in 2004 with Mike Vick. It's more like run around and make a play. Make it hard to cover, make everything unconventional, and I just love that because I know how hard it is. And frankly, I played with Troy Smith in 04, 05 when he was a scrambling man, and he was really hard to stop. Nevada, what do you think? Dante Moore, dual threat quarterback?
Yeah, definitely dual threat. I mean, he hasn't had a chance to show us, but you can see it. Just he likes to move around the pocket. And let me just make a point on Devin Brown. I mean, helping technician had mentioned Devin Brown today, and that was the first time he kind of got my antennas kind of peaked up on that as well. He had talked about him looking good this week, and I think it's funny how narratives. I don't even know what this is, but like I see people posting on our own board where they're going, "Oh, Devin Brown's not very athletic," and and I'm like, what are you guys talking about? It's like athletic does not mean Braxton Miller. Okay,
No.
athletic just means ability to move around, willingness to run, ability to do. I mean, Ryan Day felt so strongly about Devin Brown's dual threat ability that he put in a red zone, goal line, dual running quarterback type of program just for him. And Ryan Day's not messing around. I mean, that's why he did that. So, like, this idea that Devin Brown is not athletic, I'm just telling you guys, that's a terrible take. Let's send that to the aisle of misfit takes, along with Master Teague should start over Trey Sermon. Trey Henderson isn't very good. JT Barrett isn't a good college quarterback. I mean, I'm just telling you, the Devin Brown isn't athletic take, bad take. Just
Dumb.
a bad take.
Really
dumb.
dumb.
It's just dumb. I mean, this guy, he's an athlete, man. You see the guy go from 360 windmill dunk a basketball. I mean, this guy is not unathletic at all, and he can move around. He can do some things, and he presents a different set of challenges for defenses. Because I've always said that for a college quarterback, it's not just about passing yards, and that's why you can't just look at guys and go, well, what were their passing yards? What was their QBR? Because you got to look at the rushing yards too, because that can be the difference between a good quarterback and an excellent uber elite quarterback is his legs. And JT Barrett would be a classic example of that. A guy that was an effective enough passer, but just his legs were just absolutely deadly, and it just made him a force of nature in Big Ten football. So
yeah,
no, that's all. Go ahead.
No, I totally agree. J-Matt, 217 and Adam Rogers, I'm going to get to you in 1 second. I got to show you a play. This looks like I got the VCR out, but I got some old Michigan tape, the olden days back when we used to win in Ann Arbor. This is 2005. So this is AJ Hawks here. This is when Bobby got his leg broken half by Jake Long. So, we ain't looking too hot. We just got the ball. It's 3rd and 10. There's 7 minutes to go in the entire game, and we're down 9. So I mean, we got to score. We need 2 scores here. So this is why I love dual threat quarterbacks. So this looks like this is from like Super Nintendo. It looks so old. There's your boy right there, your humble co-host, and this is my boy Troy. So Troy Smith. This is one of the greatest. This is 3rd and 10, folks. One of the greatest scrambles of all time. You got your favorites. You got Gonzo. You got Ted and Santonio, Pittman. But this is one of the greatest scrambles of all time. So, this is why I love a mobile quarterback. So, protection's okay. We get beat a little bit inside by, I think that's Dadish gets beat like right away. So he like falls on the ground, whatever. So Troy immediately has to scramble. So he has to find some room. He's looking at Teddy and Gonzo over here. And we get enough of this guy, but we got to get 10 yards, so we got to get motor in. Troy makes one of the greatest scrambles of all time. So, he's like, I got to get my foot in the ground. The line to gain is here. So we're on the 40. We got to get 10. So the sticks are here. So we got to get 10 yards. So Troy, there's pressure on the left side. So he scrambles, not on the right side, mind you, which is where I played. And this is the greatest run of all time. So he's got to get to the 30. So, Woodley, who's the best player in the conference, the defensive end who's really good, is a 2nd round pick, one of the Steelers. You guys who are Steelers fans know it. Woodley's got him dead to rights right here. Like, he's got the angle. He's just as fast as Troy's. And Troy hits the speed break on him. And Woodley goes flying out of bounds. This is the most unbelievable. Like, I'm like one of these guys back here watching this. And I was like, this is the most unbelievable run I've ever seen. So Woodley's about to kill him, and Troy hits the break, sidesteps him, and gets the first down. But again, like, that's why I love. So here's your boy right here, locking it down. But that's why I love a mobile quarterback, because if this is Kyle McCord, this is a sack. This is we lose the game. Big sad panda. Our left tackle gets dogged right here. I mean, this is not good. I mean, and that guy wasn't real good. I think that's Dadish, but he gets put on the ground. Like, again, like I'm over here just kind of frog setting the dude, passing the sun off, nothing there. But Troy gets going, and again, like, look how fast Lamar Woodley is. Like, he was really good, and he's got the angle on Troy, and Troy hits the speed break right there. Boom, see ya. Like, look where Woodley goes. Like, I mean, Woodley is faster than their linebacker, and watch where Woodley goes. Like, Woodley, like, he takes out like the whole first row of the Michigan people, and again, right here is the stick, so like. That's why I want a mobile quarterback. Like, stop getting these statues that can't do that. Like Troy making that run, like what that won us the game. We scored right after that. But again, like people are like, oh, we don't want JT Barrett and whatever. I'm like, no, like I want that. I want Heisman Trophy winner. Like Heisman Trophy winner, jump on the back and carry us home like Troy did. J Matt 217. Thanks for the 5. If FSU loses and Texas wins, do you think that they jump us, or do you think that the committee would still keep them? Thoughts, Nevada? I'm going to give this to you because you've been chomping at the bit for this one.
Well, no, and if FSU loses, and let's assume that Georgia beats Alabama, because again, if Alabama beats Georgia, then everything's kind of in chaos at that point. But I mean, I just don't know what would change for the committee about Texas beating a bad Oklahoma State team. I mean, unless they beat them like 59-0 or did something just incredible. I think if the game's even moderately close, I don't see how that game really helps them in the rankings. I've talked about game control. Texas is very, very, very fortunate not to have 3 losses this year. Ohio State only had 2 close games the whole year. So, our loss is better. Their loss was on a neutral field against number 12 Oklahoma. Our loss was on the road at number 2 Michigan. And we'll have a better win. If Georgia beats Alabama, Alabama will drop to 10 or 11 or whatever it is, and our win against Penn State, at least it's comparables there. So, I think we get in. Obviously, if Oklahoma State would upset them or play them close, would that be helpful? Is that possible? No, Oklahoma State's a crazy team. I mean, They've had some bad games, but they've had some really good games too. So, like, don't discount Oklahoma State. I mean, Oklahoma State's capable of doing it. This Saturday's going to be, I'm going to watch every game other than Michigan, Iowa, just because I have absolutely no interest in watching Michigan and Iowa. I don't want to hear about Michigan. I don't want to hear about any of their garbage. It's a garbage program with garbage fans, and I really, really hope that just bad things happen to them. And so, I don't like being that negative watching a game, but watching a game where you're just literally rooting for injuries for one team, it's just not a healthy way to go about it. So I'm just going to avoid it altogether.
No, I totally agree. Adam, I got that up there. Thanks for the 20, brother. Appreciate you. You get the gun show out. I like that. Thanks for the 20. Knowing how young both McCord and Brown were coming into the season, why didn't Day grab a QB in the portal? Well, he tried. He tried to get Drake May. I feel like when Devin got hurt, Day was forced to stick with Kyle because they literally had nobody else. I mean, he tried to get Drake May, man. I mean, the hard part is, if you there's like different levels, different tiers of quarterbacks you can go after in the portal. If you go after a guy who's like a Drake May, who's a top 5 pick, lockdown dude, like those guys are probably both going to hit the portal. And you got to know that when you go after them. Like if you go, you go bring the supermodel home, like the old lady's probably going to be hitting the road real quick, But it's just that's kind of the deal. You bring in Tristan Gibbia, he's like a 7th-year guy, he never really played, kind of stinks. Like that's a different conversation. You bring in Dante Moore, man. I mean, this place is going to clear out, and that's kind of the risk reward. Because if Ryan could have got Drake May, then we probably win the national championship. I mean, we're probably like right at the top of the food chain. But what are your thoughts, Nevada? Like again, I know we went after portal guys, but to get like great ones, it's really really touchy. Because again, the quarterback dad thing is real. And it's crazy, but it's just kind of interesting to go through the whole thing because, it's such a different position. Like it's one thing to go after like an offensive lineman or a D lineman, and you play 4 or 5 of those guys or linebackers. Those guys can rotate in, but you only play one quarterback. I mean, if you're rotating quarterbacks, you're probably not going to win a national title unless you have some magical year where you have Jalen Hurts and Tua, which is like 1 in a billion. If you go after a big time draft, quarterback, I mean, you're going to have guys hitting the portal. It's kind of like the law of unintended consequences. But what are your thoughts on that?
Well, first, I want to make a comment about the whole quarterback dad thing. Look, a quarterback dad thing is not a bad thing from my perspective. I know that's got kind of a negative connotation to it, almost like, what is this dad doing being involved? I mean, but you think about these are generational wealth types of decisions potentially. So if your kid plays or your kid doesn't play or whatever, you're talking, this isn't fun and games time anymore. This isn't, playing for the Midville Rangers or something like that. This is, hey, does my kid have a chance to get drafted in the NFL and make $500 million? I mean, even Baker Mayfield, who sucks, is going to make $600 million or whatever it is in his career in the NFL. I mean, it's huge money. And so I think any dad who wasn't involved in these types of at least discussions to at least kind of read the room, find out what the body language is, find out what, get his read on the intentions, I think would be, frankly, it's malpractice not to do that. So that's my first comment is about quarterback dads not necessarily being a bad thing. But, I just think going back to the whole thing about the portal, it's just got to be can't miss. It's just got to be can't miss. Yep. And I am not convinced, and I'm going to say something that's crazy. I'm going to say something that I'm going to be in the minority on, and I am comfortable being in the minority. But I think we can win with the guys in our quarterback room. I think we can win with the guys in our quarterback room. And I think if Ryan changes and we get loose Ryan, tight Ryan, and he's willing to run the quarterback more, stay out of loser plays, be more aggressive on early downs, I think we can win with the guys in our room. That might be a hot take, but that's where I'm at, and I 100% believe that.
I don't think it's a hot take. Like again, we lost one game by 6 points in Ann Arbor, which is the hardest place in the universe to play for an Ohio State Buckeye. So again, it's do we have to burn the whole thing down? No. Do we have to play better against Michigan? Yes. So again, I'm not soft. I've got 6 pairs of gold pants. So I know how to beat Michigan. I've beaten Michigan. So, but they're hard to beat. They're really hard to beat. There's been really good teams that have died up there. So, but we lost by 6. We made too many mistakes. Like that's just part of football. And Nick Saban's lost games, Belichick's lost games, Kirby Smart's lost games, Ryan Day's lost games. This is part of the game. So, but that's a great question. Appreciate you, Adam. Perry, thanks for the 5, brother. Much like Harbaugh, Saban, and Kirby, please talk about the importance of having NFL coordinators with NFL experience on staff. This is why I love this show. You guys bring the best questions. It's crazy. I think that it not necessarily is the NFL, but I think just having like big time minds in the staff room. Now, mind you, I'm the only person in the media around here I've been in the staff room. Like I've actually been sitting next to the offensive coordinator and the offensive line coach, and learning and taking notes and seeing the type of high level discussions that go on between like Tom Herman and Urban Meyer and Jim Tressel and and Daryl Hazel and whatever. Like so, I think that when you bring guys in from elsewhere, it doesn't necessarily have to be from the NFL. I think that you get fresh ideas. Like how did you do it with your former head coach? Like how did you do it? You bring in a new coordinator. Like you bring in Jim Knowles and Ryan Day is asking, well, hey, what's Mike Gundy do on Thursdays, or what does what do they like to do in the red zone, or what are some things that you like from his program that maybe we could. I'm not saying you have to adopt them all, but it doesn't hurt to get like some fresh stuff, and that's why I thought I think this year the guy we miss as much as like obviously you miss C.J. Stroud, Paris Johnson, but we miss Kevin Wilson a lot. Kevin Wilson was a longtime head coach in the Big Ten. Did a fantastic job at Indiana, which he leaves Indiana and Indiana goes right back to being trash in the tank. And he was, like I said, I think Kevin Wilson is one of the greatest minds. I mean, Kevin Wilson taught Urban Meyer the spread offense. Like think about that. Him and Randy Walker at Northwestern taught young Urban Meyer when he was a nobody at Bowling Green how to run the spread offense. Like that's how long Wilson's been doing it. So when you lose him and you promote Keenan Bailey, I've heard really good things about Keenan Bailey. And again, I haven't heard good things about every coach and stuff, but I've heard good things about Keenan. But Keenan's a 27-year-old kid, and he might be Sean McVay, he might be a wizard, but he's never really been out of the nest. Like he was at Notre Dame with Tony Alford, and then he's been here for like 8 years as like an intern and a GA and a QC and an assistant to Ryan Day, and that's great. But you're not going to get any fresh ideas from a 27-year-old who literally, is got his first real job. He's making 500 grand or whatever, 240 or 400, whatever he's making. Like he's not going to upset the apple cart because he's like living the dream already. He didn't have to scratch and claw his way up from Akron and Kent and wherever, Tulsa. So I think that like when you bring in a veteran guy, because I think what Ryan really needs is he needs the guy that he trusts to run the offense like when he's not looking. Like he needs the guy that can run that staff room and he can go be the head coach. Like he can go sit in the defensive room and see how it's going over there. Because like Urban, the beauty about Urban is Urban never called plays in his life. He's never called a play before. So, he was never the offensive coordinator. And that's like one of the interesting things about him is he rose through the ranks as a receivers coach who wasn't a play caller at Notre Dame, became the head coach at Bowling Green, and he never called plays like anywhere. And like Nick Saban called the defense when he's with the Browns with Belichick. So that's very unordinary. Kirby Smart called the defense for Nick Saban when he was at Bama. So Urban was kind of a different bird in terms of being this like a true CEO because that's all he ever knew how to do. But what do you think, Nevada? Like, talk about the importance of having NFL coordinators and NFL experience, or just like even college football experience on a coaching staff.
Yeah, it's just look. It was a problem that we identified early on in the year, where you've got all 3 of your coordinators on the sideline: Justin Fry, Brian Hartline, and Ryan Day, and a lack of kind of a veteran presence up in the booth. And I think that's something that's been a bugaboo for Ohio State this entire year. Did it affect the Ohio State stats? Well, we've gone from being number 1 in the country in offense or right near the top to 33 and 30, and scoring 38 in total. And there's a lot of reasons for that, but that was one of them for sure. And I think for Ohio State to not identify that, they've got Philbin on staff, but only in an analyst role.
Yeah.
Do I think they need to? We've got the youngest staff in all of big time college football. Do I think we need to get better about that? Get older, get more experienced. I would hope so, and I would hope that would be an objective of Ryan, and that's what we've talked about. Some of the names that we think could potentially be moving on, they're all the younger guys, and I would expect that Ryan would fill those with veterans. I would hope so. Let's all keep our fingers crossed that that's part of the plan.
I agree. Puppy Love, great name, beautiful dog. Thank you for the 5. Appreciate you. Jim Harbaugh is 3-5 against the Ohio State. He started off 0-5, so he's almost to 500. He is a loser. I agree. Nevada, great point about the 0 rushing touchdowns. How many total rushing yards did Kyle McCord have this year? Open it up. Didn't you add it up? And wasn't it negative?
Oh, it was wildly. Well, you got to remember in college football, sacks are
Sacks.
counted against
Yeah.
are counted against rushing yards. So
Yeah.
Kyle was like minus 165. I mean, it was some ridiculous number in terms of minus yards. I mean, no, it was bad. I mean,
Yeah.
it was a massively negative number this year for Kyle. I mean, that's the kind of production, and you know, that number doesn't even have to be big. It doesn't have to be a big rushing number, but just be enough to pick up a couple of first downs here and there or touchdowns. Stetson Bennett rushed for 10 rushing touchdowns last year at Georgia on limited rushing attempts. Didn't run the ball a lot, but 10 of those ended up in the end zone. And it just goes to show you how overpowered the quarterback run is, especially around the goal line. Because if you can use somebody else as a lead blocker for your quarterback, then you're always going to have a numerical advantage, or at least you're going to be at a stalemate. And I think Ohio State has been doing offense the hardest way possible. And you can get away with that when you've got Justin Fields and when you've got C.J. Stroud. But when you don't have Justin Fields or C.J. Stroud, then it's not a question of looking hard. Offense just becomes really hard for you. And that's where we were this year. I mean, you look at our big game performance, 24 points. I mean, that's good. That could have been enough to win without the effective pick six, because they only scored 23. But, when you have a mistake on there, you come up a little bit short and got to go back to the drawing board.
Totally agree. Farbo Jenkins, thanks for the 50, man. That's big time. That gets highlighted in gold, so appreciate you, my man. From Plano, Texas. We love Texas. We love South Lake Carroll. Shout out to the Ewers family. What do you think about Riley Leonard to the Bucks and Poach Knowles? I think he's going to Notre Dame as Duke's quarterback. He's like a 8th year senior or whatever he is. I don't know. Nevada, Riley Leonard, I don't know how big of an upgrade he would be. I think he had a pretty nasty injury to end the season, but I think I think he's locked and loaded to Notre Dame. Notre Dame's still in we're taking a guy every single year at the top of the deal. So I don't know. He's not the guy that I'd be dying to get because he'd clear that room out real quick. So he'd have to be named the starter. That's the tough part is like if you have Kyle McCord and Riley Leonard, they're kind of the same guy, in my opinion. So you either got to reset it with a younger guy, and that's like the thing about Dante Moore is that he was a guy that he was a freshman this year, so you're going to get him for at least 3 years. So that's a little bit different, or you're going to get him for at least 2 more years, if not a 3rd year. But what are your thoughts, Nevada?
See, I would kill to have Riley Leonard. Riley Leonard's a gamer. Riley Leonard is one of those greasy college quarterbacks like Cam Rising from Utah.
Yes.
Where you're like, this guy's a bum. He's got long hair. He's slow. He does this and that. And he just keeps moving the chains. Riley Leonard would be fantastic. And I can understand why Marcus Freeman is going the 1-year rental thing because Marcus Freeman's got to win now. Marcus Freeman's got to win to save his job and to keep his job and to keep his thing. So he's just going to say, the heck with it. Heck with development. We went out and got the 39-year-old Sam Hartman. We're going to go out and get Riley Leonard. But Riley Leonard don't have that. I mean, I don't think it's possible. I don't think it's in the cards. Like I said, I think he's on a commitment thing to Notre Dame. But I love Riley Leonard. He can just move the team. That's all you want, man. It's not about NFL capabilities or how does he project at the next level. It's how can he play in college, and boy, I love him. I love that. I love everything about that kid, and I would love to have him as a quarterback. Don't think it's in the cards, but would have loved to see that happen.
You take him over McCord?
Yes, I would. Riley Leonard, I would. I mean, because he's a proven commodity. There's nothing developmental about Riley Leonard. Like you don't have to go in there and kind of go, can this guy play against big teams? We've seen him play against big teams. Can he play on the big? Yeah, we've seen him play on the big stage. And he's just a gamer. He's just a gamer. I would take him over that because Kyle's only got one more year, and Riley's got one more year, and I can tell you, Riley Leonard's next year is going to be better than Kyle McCord's, just simply because Riley Leonard can run.
Yeah.
I think their passing would probably, but Riley Leonard moves the chains, man. Go watch the games that he plays. The guy's just fearless, absolutely fearless. Throws his body around. Love everything about that kid.
Totally agree. David Greenshield, thoughts on Cam Ward, and do you think Ryan even wants a dual threat? I know, again, I have on pretty good authority, we offered him the bag, and he turned us down because he doesn't like our system because he doesn't get to run as much. And this is an athletic dude. Throw on a clip real quick. This guy's a difference maker, man. Washington State was tough. I mean, these guys whooped up on Fick. Fick went up there, and this he's an athlete. He's again, this is hard to defend, man. These guys that can move around, and you lose. They do the scramble drill real well, and all of a sudden it's a touchdown. I mean, I love the guy. I don't think he's in the cards for us. I mean, again, Matt Rule came out today, and he literally said, like, a good quarterback in the portal is going to cost $1 million, 1.5, $2 million. So that's the going rate. I mean, these guys are talking to agents, and the tampering is magnificent at this point because everyone's talking, hey, what are you getting? And then the problem is like sometimes some of these guys, like Cam Ward has the same agent as some guys on some of these teams. They're like, well, I heard you're offering him $2 million. Like, what do you offer me to stay? Or why am I not getting $2 million or whatever? So it's a very slippery slope when you deal with these quarterbacks. Because I'm telling you, like, the bags out there are tremendous right now. And, like for like Cam Ward or for Dante Moore, like, do you want to chase development in Ohio State, or do you want to chase the bag? Because again, what will happen with these kids is they'll end up at Florida State will send a fortune, Miami. Again, Bruce Feldman mentioning Michigan State was not some cosmic accident because Bruce Feldman's a wired up dude, and Michigan State has one of the richest guys in the world as their biggest donor. And he's a young guy. He's a 44-year-old guy, bought the Phoenix Suns for $6 billion with a B. So, that guy's got money to light on fire. So if I'm that guy and I got all this money laying around, I'm like, well, how about we go get this new head coach, a great quarterback, and then he's a Michigan kid, and we'll get him NIL deals. And, these guys know what a quarterback's worth. I mean, that guy, he spent all that money on Kevin Durant. You might as well get a quarterback for your alma mater, too, while you're at it. Adam, appreciate you, brother. Thanks for the second super chat. Thanks for the 5. Does having Quinn Ewers beat Michigan? Yes, not even close. Also, I don't see Urban having conversations with Kyle's daddy. They might have been a little bit more tense with Urban. Urban definitely talked to parents, but Urban was a genius because he had a system where basically, say like my dad passed away when I was 12, but say like hypothetically I wasn't playing and my dad was upset and he wanted to go talk to Urban Meyer. So what Urban would do is he would have an entire file that the line coach Ed Warner or Greg Studwara or whoever would have compiled of every absence he's had in class, every time he's been late to weightlifting, every time he's loafed in practice. They'd have an entire like reel of this is why your kid doesn't play. He's missed class 8 times. He missed training table. He's late to workouts. Here he is. Here's film of him loafing on the field. Here's film of him getting blown up in practice. So they have like this low light reel ready to go where, like if your dad walks in there and says, "Why is my boy playing?" and then all of a sudden he plays there, like, "Oh, okay, coach." Like, so I mean, it's kind of like you'd walk into like kind of a, like the dads would walk into like a butter knife to like a machine gun fight, and Urban would have the machine guns ready, locked and loaded. So he was slick. I mean, he was a psychology major, man. He knew what he was doing. Yeah, Quinn beats Michigan. I mean, the funny thing is like I'm debating like, do we need to get Quinn Ewers some gold pants next year because he's going to beat Michigan like week 3 when they go to Ann Arbor. So just joking. I'm kidding. I wouldn't do that. But Nevada, does Quinn Ewers beat Michigan this year if he's on our team?
Yeah, I mean, nobody beats Ohio State this year. We have Quinn Ewers, but we didn't. So we move on.
It is what it is.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. Shoulda, woulda, coulda. David Fennell, appreciate you, brother. Thanks for the 5. 17-17 is no different than 0-0. We got there. We have to get a stop. Why is nobody talking about the vanilla ice cream approach to defense? 0 risk. Well, I love vanilla ice cream, but I don't like it as my defense. We kind of did a flip where we were really aggressive last year. Obviously, they were picking our signals. Didn't work out. This year, we were very, very standard on defense, but that's not always a bad thing. I think people, they think, they want to, like the one Alabama guy on TikTok, he says, blitz, 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 Bama, blitz. Like, if you blitz, like, you're hanging your coverage out to dry a lot. So, I mean, you got to be careful. And if you feel like you can match up with them, play base defense. Screw it. I mean, if you feel like you can man up with them, you don't need to blitz like crazy. Just play good, sound defense. And that's what we did a lot of time all year. Like, it wasn't, I don't think it was Jim Knowles thought he was scared. I just thought when you got Ty Leak and Jack Sawyer and JT and the level those guys were playing at, Mike Hall, like, you don't have to do all kinds of crazy fancy stuff when they can just whip guys. Now, again, if Sonny Styles makes that tackle after the Zach Zinner injury and we stop him and hold him, then we're not having this conversation. But the problem is like, guys have to make the plays. Like, if we force everything to you and you're the safety or you're the will linebacker or whatever, and we funnel it all to you, you got to get the guy on the ground. And again, I'm not bagging on Sonny Styles. I think Sonny Styles is a freak of nature, stupendous player, but he missed a tackle. And honestly, all week I talked about how much I thought it was going to benefit, Lathan being out and having a bigger safety in there. And I think Lathan might have got the guy on the ground. Now Lathan struggled in run support last year. That was one of our bugaboos the last 2 games against Georgia and Michigan. But, Sonny learned a valuable lesson, man. I mean, you got to get there and you can't give up that space because he got in too much space with Blake Corum, and Blake Corum blew right past him. So what are your thoughts of that? I mean, again, it's, everybody, it's kind of like the running joke to me is every time there's a new defensive coordinator announced in like the NFL or in college football, they say, we're going to be more aggressive. We're going to be more nasty. We're going to blitz more. We're going to do all this crazy stuff. And I'm like, well, you better just get them off the field. I don't care if you blitz a single time or if you blitz every time, but get the guys off the field. Don't give up points. But your thoughts on that?
Look, I mean, we gave up 338 yards to Michigan in the game, and that's not bad. Do I wish that we'd gotten them off the field? Sure. We had 3 or 4 times where we forced them to third down. At least 3 of those plays, we had guys in position to make tackles that could have stopped the drives, and we didn't make the play. So I don't, we made our living all year off running simulated pressure so that we, present more pressure than we were bringing so that we could have more guys back. We did that again against Michigan. We limited our blitzing. And, here's the thing. Do I say I would have changed anything? Yeah, I would change everything. Anytime you lose, you would change everything because you lost. And so whatever you did wasn't good enough. But, I don't know what else you could do. I mean, as a guy who's called defense, not at this level, but has called defense before, if you call defense and you have your guy there to make the play and they don't make the play, I don't know how that's on you. You know what I'm saying? Like I all you can do as a defensive coordinator at that point is just gonna go, oh man, that's really disappointing that just happened that way because it changes everything. You make the tackle, they're kicking a field goal or they're punting or whatever they're doing, and you're off the field and everybody's happy. But instead, you miss the tackle, the guy, and they end up scoring, and then everybody's got questions about, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? Well, short of being able to run out in the field to make the tackle yourself, I don't know what else you can do. So that's my thoughts.
Yeah, and I mean, like when you've got Sonny Styles back there, he's a guy that's big time athlete, big strong guy. Like he's not some little mouse who's trying to tackle Blake Corum. Like he's a big dude, and he took a bad angle. Again, that's just live and learn. Again, Sonny's the age of a true freshman. He's 18, so he reclassified. So he's a really young dude and learned a valuable lesson. And honestly, next year he's probably gonna be our world linebacker. I'd imagine him and CJ Hicks are gonna be our 2 linebackers. Barb Barrett, Scoop Ultra member, appreciate you. Thank you for the 5. Why do you recruit guys like Devin Brown and Lincoln Keenels and not play them? Explain, please. Well, we played Devin a little bit. Lincoln's a true freshman. So in general, unless you're like a freak of nature college guy, you're not going to play as a true freshman. If you play as a true freshman at quarterback, you're either at a horrific program or you're like John Elway or you're Andrew Luck. Like you're Trevor Lawrence. You're a guy who's going to be a lock cinch first round pick because that's all it is. Like you're either at a really bad program or you're a generational franchise NFL first round pick type quarterback. So Lincoln redshirted. I'm sure he learned the system this year. Got a little bit of burn this year thanks to the fact that you can play 4 games and not burn a red shirt, which is a great role. Devin, I think that Ryan probably should have got him some more burn, some more time, but he didn't. which is fine. He went with Kyle. Again, like you can only play one quarterback, and it's hard to rotate him when the games are tight. And and frankly, Devin got hurt. He got hurt and missed some time. He was in an ankle boot for a few weeks, and but I think that I don't think the story is closed on either of those guys. Now I don't know if it's all going to get written here, but I also think that those guys are really talented dudes, and it's not just me like saying that because we're an Ohio State podcast. I talk to people that I trust that say that they're both talented dudes. So guys that know way more about quarterback play than I do. But your thoughts, Nevada?
Yeah, no, if I have some issues with Ryan Day. One of my biggest issues with Ryan Day, frankly, is his lack of rotating guys in. And I think earlier in the year, he should have got Devin Brown more action. He didn't. It's been a common theme with backups. He's left the starting quarterback in way too long, in my opinion. We've seen C.J. Stroud up in games where we're up 40 points thrown in the fourth quarter, that type of stuff. So I don't know why he does that, but he does do that. And to your point, quarterback's a tricky position because only one guy can play at a time. I think Lincoln's exactly where he should be. I think Devin was starting to find his rhythm with that kind of that red zone package, that goal line package, until that dirty play by the Penn State guy where he twisted his leg, his ankle in the pile, gimped him up a little bit, and then that was kind of the end of that for the thing. So, but yeah, I wish that Ryan had played him more early in the year. I think he had plenty of opportunities to do so, and he just didn't, and that was unfortunate.
Throwing a little Aaron Nolan. So Aaron's going to get here in January, so he's kind of our dual threat guy. I'll put all his stuff on. Again, like when you're dealing with young kids, man, it's tough to play as a freshman. Again, these guys go from being the man in high school to kind of watching a little bit, but it's going to be fascinating to see how these guys make it through the portal, what bowl practice looks like. Again, I think there's two wildly varying scenarios. I think that if we make the playoffs, obviously it's all hands on deck. That means Marvin, Trey, Emeka. If we go to the Orange Bowl, I don't think we see any of the guys that are declaring for the draft in the game, so it'll be kind of like a spring game type deal. I think the fascinating thing will be for Ryan is managing depth, because I know that one thing that the staff is asking is if guys enter the portal, if they'll stay for bowl practice. And I think that that's absolutely insane, because if I'm a player and I'm in the portal, I am not doing bowl practice because I'm not trying to tear an ACL or get hurt. I mean, you got to be pristine if you're going to go commit somewhere else. But managing depth during bowl practice is pretty wicked. Bowl practice is kind of like training camp. They take the training rolls off and they beat you pretty good. You do a lot of scrimmaging, a lot of live stuff just to keep the guys sharp. There's a lot of breakage between beginning of December to when you play early January or late December, whatever your bowl game is. So it'll be fascinating to see how they manage the depth and see what they do with these guys. Well, Nevada, I mean, I think we can wrap this. If you guys get any more super chats, we'll knock those out. But your thoughts again. The portal. There's going to be more guys hitting the portal day over day. I think that Monday will be a big day for the portal. It's not. The funny thing is, it's not even officially open yet. So like a guy like Carter Smith, who is an Ohio State lean, started at left tackle for Indiana. He's from Olentangy Liberty. I don't know. The word I got like today is like Ohio State hasn't officially offered him, but I'm like, well, yes, because they can't. It's illegal. You can't offer kids right now. Can't commit right now. You gotta wait till the window officially opens. But the tampering is like crazy. I mean, these guys are all talking to whoever, and that's kind of the way of college football now. And it's not direct. It's not like Justin Fry calls Carter Smith and says, "Hey, I want you." It's more like the peoples talk to the peoples. And I'm not saying Ohio State's doing it. I'm just saying that like in general in college football, there is a lot of negotiating and a lot of NIL and a lot of, hey, what's my value? And honestly, the crazy thing is it's a two-way deal, because it's not just kids in the portal, it's kids on the roster that are saying, hey, if I stay for another year, what do I get? Like some of these guys are on the fence about early declaration for the NFL draft. They're, what's in it for me? Do I stay and do I get a bag? Do I get a couple $100,000? I was told, there were some backups that got offered like $300,000, like via their agents in the portal, and not non-quarterbacks. Like, and I was just like, some of these guys, I wouldn't pay these guys $3 to stay on the roster, and they're getting offered like $300,000 by desperate teams that have a lot of money. And again, some of it's John Ruiz money at Miami. That's funny money, and you hope they see it. But all that glitters isn't gold with some of the NIL stuff. But what are your thoughts on it, Nevada? We'll wrap this thing up with your wrap up on NIL. Like I said, this is going to be a busy week. Again, if you guys aren't on our message board, BuckeyesScoop.com, it is literally on fire right now. It's absolutely crazy. But what are your thoughts on that? We'll wrap it.
Yeah. No, there's a lot of stuff going on. As a fan, you see the Ohio State loss, you see the Justice Scott decommitment, you see a couple of guys going, and you're thinking, oh my gosh, Ohio State's in shambles, everybody's leaving, and nobody wants to be at Ohio State anymore. And let me just tell you, nothing could be further from the truth. And we're tracking out a few things right now. Not going to get into it, and Kirk's not going to get into it either. But potential 5-star flip, potential 5-star flip. Yeah. So we're not going to get into that. But there's potentially some good news for Ohio State coming down the road too. So it's not all bad. So buckle up. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Oh man. I love you said Kirk is not going to get into that, because we talked about that in pre-show, and I was like, oh boy, that would be a megaton bomb. I'm not going to drop that. Adam with another super chat. Appreciate you, brother. Your super honest take of Kyle, hence having access to all 22 film. Kirk, I'm concerned, but I'm a big fan of the show. Go Bucks. Appreciate you, brother. Again, we love doing the show. Again, you guys make the show. We do it live because, frankly, it's more fun because we get to kick it with you guys and interact with you guys, and it really makes the show a blast. And honestly, it's much easier to do because we feel like we're with a bunch of our crew, our homies, and we get to kick it and answer questions and talk football. And it really is a lot of fun to do this live. So we appreciate you guys. I think Kyle has a lot of growth. I think that, again, his pocket awareness is nil. I think that, the thing that was frustrating, I know on Twitter, somebody ripped Zach's, his all 22 breakdown, but he missed some just wide open throws with perfect protection. Like, it wasn't like he wasn't getting harassed. There wasn't anybody in his lap. The one throw to Marvin, I mean, he just like duffed it. I mean, he looked like a drunk guy in the tailgating lot. And I'm like, dude, like, you got to hit that in the Michigan game now. I mean, there ain't no pressure on you. It's not windy. It's not snowing. It's not freezing rain. I mean, you got to drive that. You got to step in and drive that thing. Your pocket's perfect. And I just don't know if he had the yips or if he was just scared to death. I mean, there were parts of the game where I thought he looked terrified. And I was like, God, I don't like the look on that face right there. But again, I played with guys like Troy, and Troy was, I mean, he would go to war anywhere, anytime, whatever. Which doesn't mean you're always going to win. Obviously Troy lost some big games too, but the Michigan games, he was ready to rock. So, again, I think Kyle's got a little ways to go. Nevada, are you concerned about Kyle McCord? Again, I know, we're both positive on Kyle. Again, it was his first year starting. He's a redshirt sophomore. The biggest problem with Kyle is he's measured against like an impossibly high bar. CJ Stroud, who literally could be the MVP of the NFL as a rookie, which is like, I don't know if that's ever happened before. If it did, it was probably in like the 50s or whatever. But that's the kind of guy, that's where the bar is. So, like, I didn't get measured against Orlando Pace, thank Jesus. I just got measured against a regular tackle, and as a first-team All-American, and that's great. But I wasn't, like, I'm a first-team All-American, but Orlando Pace is like the best tackle that's ever lived. So there's levels to this. Like, I'm proud of what I did, but I ain't Orlando Pace, and I don't think Kyle McCord is CJ Stroud. But your thoughts on that, Nevada?
Yeah, I think that was the most maddening thing about the Michigan game was just, I just have these nightmares of Cade Stover running right down the middle of the field wide open. God. Yeah. And just not throwing the ball. And I just think it's because Kyle makes up his mind, pre-snap, what he's going to do and where he's going to go with it, and he just doesn't look off. And when we say he's a one-read guy, that's an example of being a one-read guy. And do I hope that he improves the second year? Yeah. Do I expect him to improve? Yeah, I would hope so. But is that stuff that's costly? Absolutely no doubt, because those are throws you have to make, you have to identify, you have to take advantage of, because those are scores. I mean, literally, Cade was running by him, so that's a touchdown. So, unfortunate, but it happened.
No, I totally agree. Well, I'm going to wrap this thing. Appreciate you guys, as always. Thank you, Sue. Thank you, Treasure the Torah. Thank you, our regulars that are in here every night. Again, you guys are the best. You guys kicking it with us. It always means a lot. So we appreciate you guys. If you enjoy this content, a lot of you guys in here, about 900 of you, please leave us a like. The likes are huge for the episode. Helps propel us up the YouTube algorithm, which is always fun to navigate. But again, we appreciate you guys so much. We'll be back in tomorrow night at 7. Again, we love kicking it with you. Comment, who do you want to start at quarterback next year? Do you want Dante Moore? Do you want Kyle McCord? Do you want Devin Brown? Put that down in the comments. Again, I love reading your comments. They're always hilarious. Good, bad, and different. I read it all, and I always get a chuckle out of some of the feedback, which is always great. So again, you guys are the best. If you enjoy this content, leave us a like, click subscribe, click that little alert bell so you get an alert every time we go live. If you guys are not members of BuckeyeScoop.com, it is an absolute amazing experience. Our message board is absolutely cooking right now. Nonstop information coming in from inside the Woody Hayes. So we've got some great stuff going on there. A lot of transfer portals stuff's going to be going down the next 6 days. So again, keep it locked on BuckeyeScoop.com. That being said, I hope you guys have a great rest of your night. Thank you, Buckeye Nation, and thank you, Buckeye Scoop family. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Go Bucks.